So, welcome everyone. Let us begin. So, before we touch upon the readings, let's take a moment of silence just to ingather and invoke Mother's presence here. So, just I think we finished last time the preface, which we were finding very interesting, and we were discussing and reflecting upon the topic of anger last time through Champaklal ji. So today I thought maybe we can take some of these anecdotes which have been shared by him and just maybe take any reflections that come on the way, any discussion. So yeah, although we can take any, but I just kind of highlighted a couple of them which were prominent for me. So maybe we can begin with mother's humility, the upper one, and then we can see how to go ahead. Yeah. So if anyone would like to read it, then we can reflect.
I can read. Yeah. Mother's humility. I clearly remember this small but significant incident. In those days, mother was not keeping well. She came out of her saloon at night and stood near Sri Aurobindo's door. I was sitting near Sri Aurobindo's bed. She looked at me and asked, "Can I see Sri Aurobindo?" Truly, her manner of asking touched me deeply. Surely she did not need to ask me if she could come into Sri Aurobindo's room. And yet she asked. I said, "Of course, mother." And I went inside and informed Sri Aurobindo. He said, "Yes." How beautiful. Should I read more?
Yeah, maybe we can pause and then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So what touched me here was, how we usually take everything in our life for granted. We don't even know that we are taking that for granted. Our uh, connection in our relationships, as if we are like, we have some rule there and we are, what do we say? We're not finding the right word. Like it's my jurisdiction, each relationship in my life, and I'm entitled. Yeah, entitled is the right word. So we usually take it all as our entitlements, that this much, this much I should get, or either in case of seeing persons, or finding, uh, maybe taking time from other people, or those other people may be very close connections like siblings or children or mother, father, but usually we as if are thinking that it's our entitlement to see them, and it's our entitlement that they should give us some time. Or so somehow I felt that this was really very powerful, that how there is respect that we can see here, respect for the other person's time, space, presence, and this is happening between the two who are one. you know. So that was also very amazing. So I thought maybe we can take a few bits, take away home. Yeah. And then how we get disappointed when somebody is not giving us time. The vital disappointment is also there, that you will not give me time. How? How is that possible? Because as if I am entitled to have time from you. But this was really very powerful, that to be
Mm.
grateful for whatever is given to us. Yeah, any reflection coming up we can take, else we can move ahead.
And this often happens with the people who are closest to us. Uh, with others, we might know our boundaries, and we might not trespass that boundary. We call it being formal or whatever you can say it. But with the very near and dear ones who are close to our heart, it's taken for granted that मुझे पूछने की जरूरत है क्या? I mean, ये हम अपने आप को हक ही दे देते हैं कि मैं करती हूँ तो ये तो मेरा हक ही बन जाता है। और कई बार in some way it is true also that automatically when you are giving yourself fully to someone, you don't have to ask, you earn that. But look at mother. I mean, how can we even say that we earn it when mother, we don't have any I don't have any word to do. I mean, as you said, that the two who are one, yet asking, she could, and all the more if there is a third person sitting, तो अपना पावर दिखाना और ज्यादा जरूरी फील होता है ना? कि उनसे क्या पूछना, मतलब, and look at this. I mean, this is so profound, so simple, and very, very, very deep, that how we should also remember that even with our kids or anybody, parents or close relations, yes, that if we could ask, could not trespass the boundary. There is a boundary, and that is what humility is, isn't it? So beautiful, Monica. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, anything else, anyone? So again, of course, everything is very precious, but I'm just kind of moving on to, yeah, I had highlighted a couple, but of course my sight can stop anywhere. Yeah, this one. So maybe we can take jealousy and its havoc. Anyone who would like to read?
I'll read Jealousy and its Havoc. Mother observed jealousy. Jealousy hides in a person and takes him low, low, showing with gestures and bending down. It takes you down, 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 very far down. It comes in such a way that at times you are not even able to notice it. You do not believe it is there. You notice it only when you see it in others. You have to be extremely careful, for even when you throw it away, it comes in again. You have to be constantly throwing it out. These things are contagious. When you find it between two persons, it at times very it is at times very difficult to find out who is responsible. Only one who is conscious can notice it. There are many ways to stop it from coming into you.
Yes, thank you. So any thoughts, any reflections are welcome.
This line is very beautiful. You do not believe, I think, fourth or fifth line, you do not believe it is there. You notice it only when you see it in others. I don't remember I have been jealous. I'm sure I would have been, but I'm so unaware that I can see, I can totally relate to it, that in everybody else, everything is so easily noticeable. I can't remember in my own self. And this in itself is a reminder you do not believe it is there. Within ourselves, we don't know, because I guess I'm not so conscious. Only one, only one who is conscious can notice it. Wow.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I think that's why this using others as mirrors helps so much. That mother says that whatever you see in the other, and especially mother
Yeah,
says that whatever shocks you in the other,
yeah,
be sure that it is present in you.
exactly in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. True. Yeah,
And I really benefited a lot from, mm, because see, whenever we talk of jealousy, and we can be really really sure that there is no one person, especially people who are progressing still ordinary, in consciousness to further growth is happening. It is impossible that we do not see the ripple, because as long as I believe in myself as a separate self, I am this limited person, and then there are other people out there, it is impossible that a drop of it would not come. So it is a
yeah,
byproduct of living in the ego consciousness,
mm,
right? So, and everybody has a drop of ego consciousness. So not a drop, I'm saying that at least a drop is there. Like, I'm again talking of people, not masters and mystics, but people who are like us, traveling still on the path. I think we can be really, as you rightly said, that it is just that we are so unaware of our inner movements that we only see it in others and can't see it in ourselves. But then that becomes an invitation that, oh, how is it possible that I have never noticed jealousy in me? you know so to become even more conscious, because usually our senses take us outward. So I am looking at outward world, all the triggers that are coming through the senses, but the same inner senses can be used to see my own inner movements. So any outer movement, if I give less focus there and I become aware of more inner clarity, more inner sorting and organization, then I will be available to see, oh, now I see, jealousy raising head. Now I see, again someone wants to be dominant or right. So then we become available to our movements, because otherwise the guard is not there. As Kabirji says that, where are you? The guard is not there. The whole field is just unguarded. So the deers of senses will come and eat your crop up. So we have, when we begin to sit on the periphery of the mind and we then look at our own inner reaction through the outer triggers, then we can notice all, as Kabir ji says, बुरा जो देखन मैं चला बुरा ना मिलिया कोई, जो मन खोजा आपने आपना मुझसे बुरा ना कोई. So I can be really really sure that whatever I see out in the world is to whatever degree present in me also, and that is very humbling, that is grounding. Then I don't label other people as sinners and me very pious. I know that we are all on the same ground, and then we can work on it. And what I was sharing, that to work on it, what really helped me was Sri Aurobindo's example of this story that he creates. Two things actually. One thing is, there is a story called A Dream. I'll try if we can find it out and take it, where one person who is a poor fellow, he is toiling very hard, and he's saying that, what kind of a life you have given me, I'm toiling so hard, and look at that Seth over there, that wealthy fellow over there, his name is Teen Kodi Seal. He is having, so much luxury, comfort, everything, good life. And then he is complaining this to Krishna. And then Krishna says, "Oh, you called me. You said that you will tie me up. So here I am. You can tie me up. And then he says that, do you want to see what kind of a life it truly is? The one that is making you so jealous and you are feeling that, oh, he has it, but I don't have it. Then he takes him inside his inner life, the Sate's inner life. And then he realizes that, no, there is a different story going on. Yeah. And another uh, thing of Devdutt and Harishchandra, where he talks about two fellows, I think in Isha Upanishad commentaries. So he says that Devdutt is feeling that, look at this Harishchandra, he's full of wealth and he has everything. How can, and I don't have that much that Harishchandra has, but you are saying that you be happy. How can I be happy when other has more and I have less? And then he says that, why would I be happy? I would be happy because I will know that it is the same divine self in me that is present in Harishchandra. And if Harishchandra is having any material success, who is enjoying the material success? The same divine self who enjoys in me. So I identify myself with that divine self within each one of us. Then jealousy can't stay. If we, and in Buddhism again, many connections. In Buddhism we see that one of the precepts or one of the things that they say is to rejoice in the happiness of others. So if somebody is having promoted and I am not yet promoted, wow, he must be so happy that he's getting the promotion that he was seeking. Or somebody is going abroad, or any married or having a child, whatever you desired for and you may not have gotten but he got. So to rejoice in the happiness of others, that also takes care of this. Yes, Nandini, please.
Yeah, like when you were talking about, like, sometimes I feel that when at least you have tried to embark on this path, you kind of start recognizing the triggers. At least okay, this has come up. How do you deal with it is another challenge, but I think that's the first step. And then, like, a beautiful way that I've found, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, because of depending on how much in depth you are, but is actually transforming that emotion, of that sensation. When you were talking about how jealousy can become, how can you actually transform it into joy for others? Which really kind of, I also felt that, and it can happen once you start recognizing it. And it's a beautiful transition as well. And I was reading about Ramakrishnan, and he talks about ego, and he says that ego is a it was a translation, so that ego is a very lousy servant, a lousy master, but a wonderful servant. So even that thing that we don't even have to get rid of our ego, like how we don't have to get rid of a jealousy. It is just a perversion of the same love that exists. It just get perverted, so we have to keep purifying them rather than thinking, oh my god, ego is there, but it can become a wonderful servant, of the divine self that we're talking. So that really helps me, because then it doesn't give me panic. Oh, again I'm jealous. Oh, again I'm in grief, or again I'm sad. But I just feel, okay, it's there. Maybe now I try to give it another meaning, and it's about retraining the mind as well. Sometimes I feel it's something that really helps me as well. So thank you for that.
Yes. So, yeah, anything more? Anyone? We can actually, I thought maybe we can, it's a little longer, but I don't know how much we can take. So, maybe we can take this moment to go through this story that we were talking of, Harimohan's dream told by Sri Aurobindo. So just let me figure this out. Yeah, looks good. Yeah, Harimohan's dream. dream of the one whose heart is smitten by a beam of the eternal. I think it is this one only. Yeah. Yes, let's go through this a little and then we can see if we get the gist of it. Yeah. Anyone who would like to read this story? Maybe bit by bit we can take in pieces. Yes, Taru.
So in this story, Sri Aurobindo uses two characters. Sham Sundar means beautiful Sri Krishna as the divine, and Harimohan, a poor human being whose heart is smitten by a beam of the eternal, as two opposite and contrasting metaphors in seeking to answer the assailing questions of human mind and the inscrutable divine mystery of Leela or play of God. The divine mystifies and seizes the human to his glorious destiny of a kingdom of love on earth with the divine as his lover and playmate. So a poor man sat in his dark room and thought of his miserable plight and of the wrongs and injustices in the kingdom of God. Overcome by Abhiman, this Bengali word cannot be translated. It means hurt, pride, and grief mixed with resentment against somebody from whom one expects love and better treatment. He spoke thus. People give the excuse of the law of karma to save the good name of God. If my present miserable existence is the result of the sins of my past life, if I was really such a great sinner, then the current evil thoughts would still flow in my mind. The mind of a great sinner cannot become pure in a day, and take the case of Tinkari Shil, if the law of karma was true, then considering his wealth, treasure, gold and silver, retinue of servants, he must have been in his previous incarnation a world-famous holy saint. But one does not see the slightest indication of that now in his present life. There There is no one in the world who is more cruel, wicked, and evil. No, the law of karma is a ruse of God, a doctrine to dupe the minds of men. Shamsundar is the cleverest of the clever. He is safe because he does not come anywhere near me. Otherwise, I would have taught him a good lesson and exposed all his tricks. Should I pause?
Yeah, we can pause. Thank you. Any thoughts? आई थिंक इसी वर्ड पे एक पूरा सेशन हो सकता है. अभिमान, hurt, pride, and grief mixed with resentment against somebody from whom one expects love and better treatment. Story of our lives. Yeah. So I think this very important because usually we are taking karma as oh, this person got such good things in this life like luxury, material wealth, possessions, so he must have had good karma. So that's what we usually relate it as. We misunderstand is at that, and he's sharing that if my present miserable existence is the result of sins of my last life, and if I was really a great sinner, then current evil thoughts would not still flow in my mind. Matlab, what can I do about my sin? Sin. How can I rise above it? In the previous one, I have been a sinner. Right now, I have been a sinner. So they'll still continue because in the previous I have been a sinner. So I am as if doomed to be in that groove of being a sinner and evil thoughts. But then take the case of Teen Kodi Sheel. It's called Teen Kodi Sheel. If the law of karma was true, then considering his wealth, treasure, gold, silver, and that is what usually we are becoming jealous of, that person got more, I didn't get that. And again, we can replace these words. We can say marriage, child, other country, anything, anything that I have been desiring, which the other person got. So then he must have been in previous incarnation a world famous saint, holy saint. This is how we see the law of karma. और many a times we say that why अच्छे लोगों के साथ गंदा क्यों होता है, गंदे लोगों के साथ अच्छा क्यों होता है, these kind of things we come to our mind which have no sense actually, but for us they are full of sense. Yeah. So then he says that if Krishna comes, Sham Sundar, and he's so clever, God is so clever, if he comes to me, then he knows that he would not be saved, and that is why he doesn't come to me. So, very funny. Sham Sundar is the cleverest of the clever. He is safe because he doesn't come anywhere near me. Otherwise, I would have taught him a good lesson and exposed all his tricks. So here, then the twist comes. Yeah, any reflection is welcome, and then we can take it forward.
Yeah, just, not very related, and yet the extent to which we can even say things or I don't know, conceptualize or even think, it's just pretty amazing. When my brother had passed on and I had landed, my driver had come to pick me up from the airport, and there he exactly said, कि अच्छे लोगों के साथ बुरा क्यों होता है? And he said, I can name 5 people who should have died rather than, him, because he was so good. That person, he does this, he is horrible. He should have been the one to go. Or the second one, my landlord, he troubles me. So as in, आई डोंट नो हम वहां पहुंचते कैसे हैं कि ये भी अटर किया जाएगा कि आई विल से हु शुड गो, kind of a thing, and how this law of karma, what it was intended for, and how we say and then just reflect on it or use it, like even how in diseases we say must be karma, that it's like a punishment, and yet it's not. And another thing that came to me, although it's again not very related with this, that how limited is my sense of perception that what is good and what is bad, right? Like wealth, good, health, good, kind of, settlement, good. And yet, when we see again and again and again that how it's the bad times, it's the challenges that evolve us. So, that aim of life thing again comes to me, that if that is set, how Mother Sri Aurobindo keeps, talking about having aim in life, how then we can see things better, maybe. Yeah, just wanted to say that.
I also feel about law of karma, for me, which makes Sri Aurobindo's yoga very, very distinct, is that law of karma has been used even in Buddhism, in Nichiren Daishin in Buddhism, and Trivanta Buddhism, many strands of Buddhism. Even in Hinduism, I've seen that law of karma by great scholars have been used as a way of um, of 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 making us conscious, because the kind of, it's not only in our action but also in our speech, thought, and perception. Whatever we do, it kind of comes back, and that's why it's represented cyclical, which I think Mother and Sri Aurobindo has. I won't say that, because it is also said that it does operate in some level which we not understand, but rather than getting scared of it, we can still, like Taru said and Mother says, that we can how use it as a vehicle for evolution. which is so beautiful. That even if it's negative karma, I don't know. Even like I tell myself that okay, even if I did something in my past life, yesterday, tomorrow, that has come up as that, rather than getting sad or getting so this thing, I can use it a means of progress. I can take, like when my mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, I was speaking Alokda, and he said that okay, if this has happened, we don't know why. Because I said she done so much yoga, like she was so fit, like always working on her body, and to her it happened. And he said that, but we don't know. We can't say what is it. Maybe it is a means that she can take the leap of so much leap in her consciousness, which she couldn't have taken in this otherwise. This if this wouldn't have come. So I mean, that's really important, that I like that I feel I do myself that okay, I don't understand what is it, even if it is, maybe it is, we don't know, but we can grow, and we can grow so much that grace intervenes the law of karma in that sense. So that's really distinct in Shurbindo, which I've really not have encountered in other this thing in Buddhism and other this thing, because they still believe that that's why your actions have to be very according to dharma, because then it is like a wheel, which Sherbindo says even if it is, it can be transpressed.
Should I continue reading the highlighted part?
Yeah, why not? Yes.
Okay. No sooner had the poor man said these words than he saw his dark room flooded with waves of very bright light. A moment later, the waves of light disappeared in the darkness, and he saw a very beautiful, dark-hued boy standing in front of him with a lamp in his hand, smiling gently but not saying anything. As he saw peacock feathers on his head and bells on his feet, the poor man realized that Shyam Sundar himself had come and given himself up to him. Embarrassed, he thought for a moment of falling at his feet, but he did not feel like doing so at all when he saw the boy's smiling face. At last he blurted out, "Hey Keshta," a colloquial form of the word Krishna, "why have you come? Why didn't you call me?" said the boy, smiling. "Just now you had such a strong desire to whip me. Well, I have given myself up. Why don't you get up and lash me?" The poor man felt more embarrassed, not due to any remorse for wishing to whip the divine, but to chastise such a handsome boy in return for his love did not seem to be in good taste. "Look, Harimohan," the boy spoke again. "Those who are not afraid of me regard me as their friend, even call me names, but out of affection and wish to play with me are very dear to me. I have created this world for the sake of play, and I have been always looking for playmates, but don't find any. Everyone becomes cross with me, make demands on me, ask me for gifts, possessions, liberation, devotion, but alas, nobody wants me for my sake. I give what people want. What can I do but satisfy them, or they'll tear me to pieces? I see that you also want something. Being cross, you want to whip someone and have summoned me to gratify that desire. I have come to take the lashing of your whip ye yatha mam prapadayante. As one approaches me, but if you wish to hear about it before you beat me up, I will explain to you my method. Well, do you agree? Can you really? Asked Harimohan. I see you have the gift of the gab, but why should I believe that a young, immature boy like you can teach me anything? Come, see if I can, replied the boy smilingly.
So I think this is also very important because usually mm, somehow we are not fully convinced that God is there. So there is another story that I got reminded of where this Hanuman Bhakt, a person who is a very devout Hanuman Bhakt, and for a long time he has been chanting Hanuman Chalisa and really doing all the proper rituals to please Hanuman. He has a temple where he has kept the murti and everything. And one day he's still very miserable and he becomes really tired of all these rituals and he says that, you have not given me anything. So I'm going to put you up in the altar and I'm going to change my deity. So today it'll be now, from now on, it'll be some other deity. I don't remember which one it is. So he takes up that idol of Hanuman and keeps it upstairs, somewhere up above the mandir. And in the mandir, he installs another deity to whom he is now doing all the rituals and the sadhana and pleasing, basically, wanting to please that deity because Hanuman did not serve well. So then one day he is doing his, it's a little funny rather, one day he is doing his puja, aarti and all that, and he realizes that the incense stick that he has put on, the fragrance of the incense stick is going up, 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 and it will reach Hanuman. So, so he says that no, 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 I don't want that. I don't want Hanuman should have the fragrance of this incense stick. So immediately, he tries to pick away that idol and remove it from there. And then Hanuman appears. He had the darshan of Hanuman, saying that we actually don't believe that it is true, that our, there is actually a God who is hearing what we are talking with him. We don't believe it actually if we check within. So I think this is beautiful because although he's wanting to beat him up, but Krishna says, here I come, like a friend, that you wanted to beat me up, okay, beat me up. And we would say, अरे भाई मारू भी तो किसको मारू, कोई है ही नहीं. So although we think that we believe in God, but I think we can check within how much. And I think this aspect of being a playmate also in our daily life, if we have an inner communion with the divine, we can actually immerse in a beautiful dialogue, funny, humorous at times, whenever we find ourselves in trouble, talking to the playmate and saying that, oh, now I know why you did that, so this happens. I'm sure many of us engage in that kind of a inner dialogue, so it's really beautiful to. And what he's sharing, that I actually look for playmates but I don't find any. And we, with Nirodha, we see it very beautifully, that how in conversations with Sri Aurobindo, we see that humorous side of Sri Aurobindo coming out very alive in conversations with Nirodha, because he, as where he was coming from, he did not see him as divine, like I'm talking to the divine. He said that, oh, this, some person who knows more, and he has all his doubts, he has all his things that, how can I trust that you are divine? He's having doubts and confusions and questions. And then Sri Aurobindo is replying to him in all his candidness. And that's why we have many, many accounts of his candidness through him. Yeah. Yeah, anything anyone wants to share? What was being read so far? And this also tells about our inner attitude shifting and the outer shifting also. So this, that as one approaches the divine, and the divine is so playful and flexible that he becomes that. So if I approach the divine that, oh, the cruel one, I actually will feel that yes, it is the cruel one. Yes, he is the cruel one. I will have experiences in life, situations in life, my thoughts will go into that direction, that I continue feeling that yes, it is the cruel one. Then if we feel that, oh, a playful one, a humorous one, and that's how I begin to feel. So he says that as you approach me, that is how I become. Because again, infinite possibilities with the divine. There is no one rigid uh, thing that, oh, this is what God is and that is how he remains for everyone. No. So if I shift my inner attitude, if I shift my inner image of the divine, so far I have been living with fear and all that, but now if I want to change it, then I can have a different relationship. And that also is true. Just like Buddha, somebody asked the Buddha that, uh, that person said that, is that true? And Buddha says, yes, that is true, you are right. Then another person comes, he says that, that person, but you said that that person, was like this or that, but how can you say that he is true? Then he must be wrong. And then Buddha says, yes, you are right also. And then another one comes and says that, but how can they both be right? And he says, you are also right. So again, seeing that whatever, however we approach, that possibility exists. There is some element of truth in however we approach, and that is how my life becomes. So if I want my life to change, then I can change and shift the inner attitude, of which Mother and Sri Aurobindo have spoke so much, which you were talking also, regarding the law of karma. That if I shift whatever it is, if maybe because of the past sins, whatever present condition, but right now if I take it in the highest possible, then I can be my best. Yeah, anything here? Anyone before we go ahead?
I'm just reminded of a story. I was in Vrindavan, and we were staying beside a very old woman. The hotel was beside, she had a cottage, and used to perform. And she was a very staunch Krishna Bhakt. And once me and my cousin went and spoke to her, and like I said, don't you fear that you're lonely here? There's nobody, you don't have children, and maybe the son is living in the city. And he says, no, but I have him, look. And I said, and I asked him, and I still have this question. I said, but how do you know he's there? And she laughed, and she said, okay, I will tell you. Just here, just these two houses apart, there was this old farmer who lived here, and it's a real story. We all know it here. And he took some loan from somebody, some 50 years back or something. And he was a very poor farmer, and he actually returned the money. But the man who took it was very greedy, and he knew he's illiterate. And he said that I'm going to give me more. And he said, but I gave what you agreed. And they did not have any written agreement. And the man said that I'm going to take you to the court. And he had, said, just like me, he had Krishna like that. And and he said to Krishna, and he used to really like really believe that Krishna is somebody who is his friend and everybody. And he said that he went to court. He said to Krishna that I don't know this court, I don't know all these things, I don't know, I just know you. I just know how to speak your name, write your name, and do your bhajan, and that is what I do. So you just take care of me now. And he said that he went to the court, And when that judge asked that, do you have a written contract? He said, I don't know how to written write. Said, but did you have somebody, a witness, that somebody that that you gave the money back? And he said, yes, I have a witness. And he said, okay, what's his name? He said, his name is Girdhari. And he said, okay, tell Girdhari to come tomorrow. And he was really happy. That lady said, she I was young that time. It's it's around 30-40 years back. And I asked him, I said that, are you who, what is this witness, what are you going to do? He said, no, Giridhari is going to take care and I have no problem. He asked me, who's the witness? I had a witness, I know. And he said, you won't believe that that next day when they asked that Girdhari has to come, the man went, and their man actually came to the court called Girdhari. The old man, very old man, and he said, I am Girdhari, and he was the witness. And and I said that this is a real this thing, but it has not happened to me. I've seen it happening, and and I was surprised, that, and it's a real story because people were there, and he said, yes, that's a real story. So I mean, that's so amazing. But the thing is that we don't have that conviction, like, still I still doubt, is mother really the divine? Sometimes it would come up in my heart that, what if she's not, what if there is some purification that still needs to be done in her as well, and till the time we cannot really feel it, I feel.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Yes, Priyanka, you wanted to add on?
Just got reminded again of the story of Ramakrishna Paramahansa, that he used to call names to the goddess, the mother, and prasad, when he used to sit down and offer her prasad, and she would not eat. And he would call for her, she would not come, and he would be very angry, call her names and all that, and she would actually come. So that love, that purity. And also, I got reminded of this Shabri, that when Ram वो बेर खिलाना शुरू किया और अब she was so full of love, so immersed in love, that for her it was important that मीठे बेर खाना, राम राम के मुंह में मीठे बेर जाए, तो टेस्ट करती थी पहले खुद और फिर खिलाती थी. So somebody was watching and say, तुमने जूठा बेर, and it was out of love. So, and such beautiful lines we just read, that somebody who is not afraid of me, but even calls me names. And that is what in this story also, and the story that you mentioned about, uh, how God is looking for a true lover, that we our love is so, I mean, I don't think it is there. Love तो love है, प्योर और इम्प्योर वर्ड उसके साथ लगा ही नहीं सकते. अगर इम्प्योर हो गई तो फिर वो लव कहाँ हुई? Love in itself is complete. There can be no purity or impurity with it. So yes, we have to learn to love. I mean, we not have to love, we are love. The very essence of divinity in us. We have to just realize this. So beautiful that God is looking for a playmate, and we are thinking भगवान को तो सब कुछ, भगवान को क्या चाहिए? What does God want? हमें चाहिए. And he is there fulfilling our needs, and there God is there, that कोई totally मुझ में तो मुझे मेरे को भी चाहिए कोई जो मेरे साथ खेले, जो मेरे साथ एक होके, just in Gita also there is this shloka in chapter 9, I guess. It says that be single pointed devotion, be my lover. And when you have this single pointed focus on me, that you possess me and be possessed by me, then I bring every good to you. You don't have to worry about anything. All you have to do is just, instead of your attention diverted, fragmented in all directions, just be my lover. And I whenever I read that shlok, I just say that the ultimate love story. God is a very possessive lover, and he wants our total attention. But we have to learn to love. Yeah. This is all. Very beautiful lines.
Yeah. one story Alokda also had shared in one of the talks, that there was this fellow, a little child, who used to go through a forest to his school, and he began to become afraid in between. So his mother was very busy, all the time. She had to do something at the little, chores at home. So of course she could not accompany. So she said that, why don't you take Hari as your friend, talk to Hari and be with Hari and go through the forest. Remember Hari. And then he was sharing that the child actually started to do that. And then some incident happened, I'm not exactly remember. And then the mother said, but how did you come through the forest if it was so scary and whatever, dark, and how did you come through? And he said, but oh, you only said, be with Hari. So I was with Hari, he was with me. So actually, because of the faith of the child. Now mother, again, this is how we see that it's our faith that matters. Because of mother had said just like passingly कि भैया मैं नहीं कर सकती, तुझे जो करना है कर ले, I can't accompany you. And she did not believe it herself that actually Hari can appear and be with the child. But the child had total absolute faith, and he actually started to accompany the Lord, and he was his friend, and he was just taken through all the dangers through the forest because of that company. Another story which I can remember, same on the lines of how faith can change, was there was this lady who used to deliver milk to a sadhu's kuti, and she used to come through a river. So she should walk through the river and only then reach the other side. Usually the river was not that high, but one day it had rained and the river was really very deep. So she could not walk and she did not bring the milk. So Sadhu said that, why didn't you bring the milk yesterday? I was just waiting, all the time. And she said that, oh, but didn't you know it was so rainy and I could not walk through and there was no boatsman there. So he said that, oh, you could have walked over the water. And then the next day, again it rained and the milk was there, and of course the woman was gone. And the other day then she comes back and the sadhu is wondering that how come the milk is there, and then she said, but you only said walk over the water. So I walked over the water. So many stories like that. Again, if I start to recount, there would be so many. That it's our total absolute faith, and as Priyanka was sharing, that it's in us, that in our sincerity, uh, that one pointed concentration and absolute faith is lacking. Otherwise, we have so much faith in our own ideas, so much we are not never able to leave them. So just that kind of stubbornness we want to have, or we aspire to have on the divine also. That just like how stubbornly and rigidly I am associated with my limited views and perceptions, so sure I am about them, that I begin to even doubt the divine. Then this kind of a switch has to happen, that the same stubbornness I have on the divine, that nothing can remove that unshakability, from being in absolute faith with the divine. And it's very sad. I was wondering, it's so sad that we actually, although one hand it is good also that at least we learn through the stories, but it's actually, I find it at times saddening that we take our life so much for granted, that this life, the body functioning well, me breathing, still alive, functional intellect, blood running through my veins, relatively healthy, this doesn't seem like a miracle. And then we have to look for miracle out there somewhere, so that our shraddha can be awakened. And otherwise, I just take my body, my existence for granted, as if ये तो है ही, ये तो सबके पास है, ऐसा क्या नया है, so that really amazes me, that this is not a miracle for us, that one more day I was alive and breathing and things were okay. Yeah. Yeah, so do we read ahead? I think we can. It's just like story like. Maybe this paragraph we can take. It will be nice. From having said that.
Having said that, Sri Krishna touched Harimohan's head. Immediately, electric currents began to spread through the whole body of the poor man. The Kundalini power, normally asleep at the base of the spine, shot up to the crown of his head in the form of a fiery serpent hissing loudly, and his brain became filled with waves of vital force. The very next moment, the walls of the room around Hari Mohan seemed to recede into the distance. The world of names and forms, abandoning him, became unmanifest, as it were in the infinite. Harimohan lost his normal consciousness. When he came to, he found himself standing with the boy in a strange house and saw in front of him an old man sitting on a mattress, absorbed in deep thought. On seeing that face contorted by worries and grief-stricken, hopeless and sad, Harimohan just could not believe that it really was that of Teen Kodi Shil, the most powerful and leading man in the village. At last, full of fear, he asked the boy, "O Keshta, what have you done? Sneaked like a thief into someone else's house. The police will come and trash our lives out of us with a severe beating. Don't you know the might of Teen Kodi Shil?" "Very well indeed," smiled back the boy. "But stealing is an old occupation of mine. I am on intimate terms with the police. There is nothing to fear. Now I am giving you subtle sight. Look into the old man's mind. You know, Teen Kodi's might. Now you see my power too." Then Harimohan could see into Teen Kodi's mind. He saw that it was like a rich city destroyed by enemy attack. So many goblins and demons of terrifying shapes entered that keen, powerful intellect and destroyed its peace, broke up its concentration, and robbed it of its happiness. The old man had quarrelled with his favorite youngest son and driven him out. Losing his beloved son, born in his old age, he was overcome with grief. Yet anger, pride, hypocrisy were sitting as sentries, barring the door of his heart and denying entry to forgiveness there. Stories about the bad moral character of his daughter had been circulated. The old man was weeping after having hounded her out of his home. He knew that she was innocent, but the fear of society and public opinion, vanity, and his own selfish interest was stifling his love. The moment of 1,000 sins made him shudder and fear, yet he lacked the courage and the power to purify those evil tendencies. From time to time, the thought of death and of the next life frightened him terribly. Harimohan saw that from behind the thoughts of death, fearsome messengers of Yama were peeping and knocking at his door. Every time there was such a knock, the old man's inner being screamed, mad with fear. Witnessing this terrible scene, Harimohan turned towards the boy with trepidation and said, "Goodness, what is this, Keshta? I thought the old man was supremely happy. That is my power, replied the boy. Tell me now, whose power is the greater, Teen Kodi? Shil's of the next district or Shri Krishna's who lives in Vaikuntha? Look, Harimohan, I too have police and sentries, government, law, and judicial trials. I can also play like a king. Do you like this game? Good Lord, no, said Harimohan. This is a very bad game. Do you enjoy it? The boy replied, smiling. I like all kinds of play. I like to whip also to be whipped. Look, Harimohan, he continued, people like you see only the surface of things and have not yet developed the subtle sight to see their inner truth. That is why you say that Teen Kodi is happy and you are miserable. This man has no material want, and yet how much more is this millionaire suffering? Can you say why? Happiness is a state of the mind. So is suffering. Happiness and suffering are simply modifications of the mind. He who has got nothing and whose only asset is misfortune can be very happy even in the midst of danger.
Yeah, I think.
Notice also, yeah,
Shall
I'll
we?
stop.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. This one was really nice. Yeah, let's maybe. Yeah. I think slowly as we begin to come closer to our own self and begin to understand our own self, then there actually can be no place for jealousy, because we see that no single being can find satisfaction and fulfillment in whatever may seem very, very glittery, and no matter how much you have desired to have that thing. Nobody, like, it is not the design of existence, it is not the design of creation that anybody found fulfillment in a person, in power, in name, in fame, in respect, in wealth, in property, in jobs, in countries. That is not the design of existence. So if I come closer to my own self, and if I see, truly, truly look at myself, that have I found fulfillment in any of these things? And of course we can say that, but I don't have that. But I will then have to remember that, but I have many, many things which earlier I wanted, then I got, but am I still fulfilled? Few years ago I had been craving to get married, for example. Now I have that marriage. Am I fulfilled? Few years ago I have been wanting very desperately this job. Only this job can I get. I am here. Where is the fulfillment? Same with anything material that can be had in this life. And then I think that it is only that we can feel jealous of others because we are not very close to our own self, because I have not seen and understood life in me, and that is why jealousy can exist. Because otherwise, if I begin to understand, even touch a little depth of life in me, then I would be definitely damn sure that without the divine, nobody can have any fulfillment anywhere. It is only in the divine that we can feel fulfilled, and then there is no place for jealousy. Then I can also myself be single focused, as was being shared in the Gita. And also I think this is so beautiful that I like all kinds of play. So for human beings, like, something is a tragedy, why is world war happening, why is this atrocity happening? But it is at times very hard to imagine that for the divine, actually, everything is play. And second thing is, who is the divine doing that to? Of course, himself, because there is nothing but the divine. When even when we intellectually talk about this, when we say that there is nothing but the divine, so who is the divine doing any atrocity to? To himself. So where do I come into picture? you know so then all kinds of play is allowed, because it's just happening within the being of divine. That's why we call it Leela. So I like to whip, and I like also to be whipped. It's not good and bad. Good and bad only exist for us who live in dualities. Oh, he got promotion, very good, very good. Oh, he got demoted, very bad, very bad. Because we can't see the growth that happens through every happening or challenge or anything. Our only focus mostly is on outer things, outer accomplishments. Otherwise, they can't exist any good and bad. It is impossible that we can very excited and get very disappointed. Then those highs and lows can't be there. That is why Sri Aurobindo says that one of the signs of soul consciousness is equality. No? Equanimity, equality. That is one sign that you are living from the soul consciousness. That neither it anything takes you high up in the air, neither it throws you down in the patal lok. Because there is a greater knowing, there is a deeper knowing that works. And also this thing that if we look, whatever we have achieved, wherever we are right now placed, in somebody's eyes, you may be the most successful, the most blessed person. But then we look at ourselves. How is my inner mind? How is my inner state? Is the mind well tamed? We see that it is not. We see that it is not. So, and same is the condition with each one of us. Each one of us is troubled by this mind, which is untamed. So then how can we say that, oh, that person is more happier and more blessed than how I am? And also this thing that we read earlier, again in this one only, that happiness and suffering are a state of mind. It was here only somewhere.
It's there only where you have put that, highlighted it.
Here,
Yeah,
happiness.
it's in the
Oh
law.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking at a wrong place. Thank you. Yes, this one also I think is very empowering, that if suffering is also a state of mind, happiness is also a state of mind. And that is why so much of stress on mastering the mind, because then I can shrug off the suffering. When it is there and I see that, oh, because of the old ego consciousness, the grip is still there, at times suffering comes. But then when I switch, I decide that no, I don't want to be here. Immediately that inner shift can happen and I can shrug off the suffering. So at most often than not, we think that we are suffering because of outer conditions. That's further accelerates our suffering, because outer conditions also don't change that easily. They are waiting for us to change inwardly. But when I change inwardly, I see that in within the same context, same situation, I can actually find a different state of being. So happiness, I think, very empowering. Happiness is a state of mind, and so is suffering. Happiness and suffering are simply modifications of the mind. He who has got nothing and whose only asset is misfortune can be very happy. I've seen, I'm sure many of us would have seen, little children going through the streets, living on the streets, the wide smile and the joy that I see at times on their face. And of course, it's not to say that they don't suffer. Of course, When hunger comes, when winters come, suffering is there. But still, there is an aliveness that we can say that, oh my God, how can that person living in that condition be happy? How can that person be joyful? But he can be joyful. So he has got nothing and whose only asset is misfortune can be very happy even in the midst of danger.
There's a very nice quote by Pema Chodron that I like, and she says that somebody I loved gave me a box full of darkness, and it took me a long time to realize that that too was a gift. It's something very beautiful, very much resonated with her.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I think this paragraph is very powerful. Notice also that just as you are not getting any satisfaction out of spending your days in acquiring dry merit and are always thinking of suffering, so also is this man doing the same, living out his days in dry demerit. A very beautiful word, actually, dry merit. We keep on accumulating such things in our life which actually leave us totally empty. They don't give us any fulfillment. Some of the things we do for parents, some of the things for society, some for, this must be done because we are born, because of cultural conditioning, and they just dry ourselves out. So dry merit, something that doesn't satiate our thirst that is there within. Although on the outer it may appear that, oh, you have so much, wow, so blessed you are, but inwardly I feel empty and hollow because it's dry merit. And it's like, I feel that at times the divine remembrance of the divine in all acts of life is like a drop of itr. Like, we have itr, perfume, one drop, and that just changes everything that we are doing. Same thing, the same property, the same children, the same situation, the same everything. If I add this consecration to the divine in every act and area of my life, that very thing becomes very holy. If only we, of course, remind ourselves, and that becomes important for us. And otherwise, mother, I remember mother sharing, and I resonated very, very deeply with that. Mother shared that without you, nothing makes sense. She was referring to the divine, that it's only because of you that I feel like living. Otherwise, everything is so dry and nothing is really worth it. So that can be true for, every condition that we are in. That just one drop of divinity, divine remembrance, consecrating our work to the divine, remembering mother all the time, whatever we are doing, that changes whatever task is there, that changes our attitude. And fulfillment comes. So it may be an act which I may not be liking that much. Many a times we are stuck in situations where we have to, do some certain things as obligations, responsibilities, because you just have to. And in the middle of that, if you remind yourself of being with the mother, so instead of very disappointing and sad job, it actually becomes very delightful job. I've seen that changing, shifting, that you, because you are with the mother, now nothing is there that you need externally from that situation. Yeah, so anything here, anyone wants to add on? So I think we can maybe finish this one, and then next we can maybe take the next time. It's a bit longer, this one. Mm, yeah, maybe we can, yeah, overlap a little bit. So starting from, yeah, this highlighted portion. can go through that.
He who has got nothing and whose only asset is misfortune can be very happy even in the midst of danger. Notice also that just as you are not getting any satisfaction out of spending your days in acquiring dry merit and are always thinking of suffering, so also is this man doing the same, living out his days in dry demerit. That is why there is momentary happiness resulting from virtue and temporary unhappiness issuing from sin, and vice versa. There is no real joy in this conflict. I've got the picture of an abode of bliss. He who comes to me falls in love with me, seeks me, puts pressure on me, even persecutes me. He gets from me by force, as it were, the picture of joy. Harimohan listened eagerly to Sri Krishna's words. The boy spoke again. Understand this too, Harimohan. Dry merit has become for you devoid of the sap of joy. Yet you can't resist the power of its impressions, nor can you conquer that petty egoism. For the old man, dry demerit has simply become joyless, yet being unable to renounce it because of the force of its impressions, he is suffering hell in this life. This is, this is called the bondage of virtue and vice. Unconscious impressions born of ignorance are the chains of this bondage. But this terrible suffering is really very good for the old man because this will lead to his salvation and true welfare.
Yeah, any thoughts, anyone? Devoid of the sap of joy. I think one thing which really resonates, and I think one must try to follow it as much as possible, that not to compromise on what really truly brings us joy. Because in the name of society, parents, peer pressure, what other people are thinking, this is what must be done because this is what everybody has been doing since ages. Because of all that, we put ourselves in such a condition that outwardly we may have many, many things, but still there is no joy in life, and that really makes us so miserable. So if only we can every day, day to day, if we can involve ourselves in those things, activities that truly truly bring us joy, I think then there is nothing to complain. Truly following, because as Sri Aurobindo says that the basis of existence is delight. So we actually will be running after delight if we don't have it in life, because that's the basis. Without delight, sorry. And even those of us who at times are sticking to our suffering, we may think that suffering is remaining in my life and it is not leaving. But actually, I am not leaving the suffering because I am having some sadistic delight in the suffering. Some enjoyment is there in the suffering, in being the victim, in being, blaming the other people, blaming the life situations. So I think it's very good clue to us that if we are in any situation and I claim that I don't want to be here, but I'm still stuck here, some delight I must be having there. Otherwise, it is impossible that I still keep on being in that state, inner state or outer condition, and still say that I actually want to get out of it, but I can't. Some delight I must be having. So we just need to be honest with ourselves that who am I fooling? And the day I stop having the delight in that misery or that situation, I won't be able to stand it anymore. Because now something else would have become more delightful. Maybe walk into the unknown. Okay, let us see what is out there for me. But this now I can't bardasht, as we say, that if situation becomes out of your, and again, this can be at various levels. Like last time we were talking about that, when would I say that it is an escape and not an escape from a certain situation. So but this is just about that delight part, that if I am having a delight, sadistic hidden delight in my own suffering and misery, then I would not be able to get out of it. No one has the capacity to do that. The will is given to us. I have to withdraw the sanction from the identification with the suffering. And yet he says that although it has become devoid of joy, yet you can't resist the power of its impressions. So impressions are so strong, and that's how we were talking the other day, that somehow these grooves that we get into, grooves of a kind of a thinking, a kind of feeling, thought patterns, feeling patterns, groove of being in an outer situation for so long, they are so strong that even when I'm having no joy in it, I still am stuck in that situation and groove. So resist the power of its impressions. So this is what I would say, in other word one can call also the samskaras, the impressions that are binding us. And that is why it is good to become conscious of what is binding me, so that I can step out of that groove in which I'm stuck without joy in my life. Again, he says that he's unable to renounce, although he's having no joy. The other man, the wealthy man, Teen Kodi Seal, he's not having any joy, but he's unable to renounce this kind of a living because of the force of its impressions. Very, very important. And these impressions are as if they have a momentum. Like you push a ball running and it gets a momentum. Now it takes a long while and lots of friction before it gets completely to a halt. And that is how our past impressions are. That is how forceful they are. They have been running for ages with me, in me. So how can I imagine that one day, one fine day, a striking conversion happens and all of them just go away, disappear? That is not going to happen. They may lose grip over me. They may still be hanging around in the being, but slowly I will be unsure of them. Slowly I will not allow them to overrule me. That can happen as I become conscious of them. So not to bother about whether the ego consciousness is still there. Oh, see, my ego still pops its head up from time to time. Oh, I have ambition. Oh, I have jealousy. All that anger is there. I think these ripples may be there. But what is important for me is that I'm not listening to the dictates of ripples. Ripples take a long, long time to dissolve and completely disappear. So not to frustrate ourselves because of that. Yeah, any last comments, anyone, before we end today.
Monica, I was still a little confused about the meaning of dry merit and dry demerit. So, is it that the poor man's or Harimohan's life is meritorious because he doesn't have those situations in his life which is which are inwardly present in the other person's life, but his life is also dry in spite of devoid of all those, because he's not able to enjoy what he has. Is it because of that it is called a dry merit? I mean, I just thought
Yeah,
of,
totally possible. Yes.
yeah. And then
Yes.
dry demerit, is it that though the wealthy man's life, there are so many challenges that he is, his own son, he has driven him away, his daughter being blamed, and he's lamenting his days, though we are also in our lives facing challenges. And do we have to soak in unhappiness? Then it is a dry demerit. But if we can rise above that, that is it something like that? I'm just trying to understand that why this word dry with merit and demerit. And then he says that the sap is missing. So if both in both situations there is this sap which is missing, which can be used for our own evolution, whether you are in a meritorious situation or whether you are not in a meritorious situation. You can make it dry by your own attitude. Is it, am I right?
Yeah, I
Am I?
think rings a bell, like resonates. So,
Yeah, because I've been
yes.
just thinking, why did he use this word dry merit and dry demerit? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, thank you.
So there is this, many Gurbanis, the lyrics of many Gurbani Shabads that we hear in Gurudwaras many a times. So many of them and very beautiful. In many of them, they talk about Naam, the name of the Lord, and they talk about it being the nectar of life. And when that is missing, everything is dry, something like that. And when the Naam is there, then everything becomes full of rasa, full of bounty, abundance. No matter outwardly, it may be a very incapacitated condition, but if the name of the Lord you can be immersed in while being in any situation, that becomes the sap. What we were reading, the sap of joy, the nectar. In prayers and meditations also, in many lines it comes, the divine nectar. And mother says that why do men flee from these divine boons as if they were to fear it? Yeah. Okay, so I think maybe we can take a break today here and next time continue with the story on which we were taking up. And if time permits and if interest is there, we can also take up the other story from Isha Upanishad, where he talks about these two fellows, Devdutt and Harishchandra, and how can we rejoice in others' happiness. Yeah. Okay, so just before we end, just taking one last moment to share all the merit of understanding, reflection, fulfillment. Maybe share it with all the sentient beings. May our hearts be full, content, peaceful, with lots of joy and delight and progress in our lives. Progress brings joy, as Mother says. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Bye bye.